All right, everyone, welcome to Strictly Sports. I am Jacob Brown, joined here with Stephen Cash, and we're going to do our 2020 Chicago White Sox season preview. And this is one that we've been really looking forward to this whole time. We've done like, I don't know, 20 of these so far. And this is one of those teams I'm looking at, and I'm like, man, if they pan out, they can be really good. So we're going to do it how we always do. We're going to look at adds and subtractions, lineup, bench, rotation, bullpen, prospects. Let's look at their adds and subtractions. So last year, they were 72 and 89, third place in the division. Who did they lose? They lost starting pitcher Ivan Nova to the White Sox, infielder Yolmer Sanchez to the Giants, reliever Josh Osich to the Red Sox, John Jay to the Diamondbacks, Ryan Goins to the A's, and then a bunch of other minor players for them. They also signed Cheslor Cuthbert and Ross Detweiler to minor league deals, but their offseason was really in the main ads, and they really had a great offseason. We'll start with the lower ads. Gio Gonzalez on a free agent deal. He'll be their fifth starter. Actually, really underrated stats over the last number of years. We'll get into him later. Steve Cishek in the bullpen from the Cubs on a short free agent deal to boost up that bullpen. Starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel from the Braves. Edwin Encarnacion from the Yankees. Nomar Mazara in a trade with Texas. And then catcher Yasmani Grandal, catcher from the Brewers, probably their best acquisition of all of them. So let's look at this lineup. And this is another lineup. I say this all the time. It's one of those that you could have like 50 different combinations for, but I have it this way just because I think number one, the number 3 prospect in Major League Baseball, Luis Robert, probably not going to be put in the upper parts of the order until he proves it at the major league levels. And I also think that this is just the best way to construct it. So I have Tim Anderson, the shortstop, leading off in 123 games, really impressive. Hit .335 with 18 home runs, 56 RBIs, 363 WOBA, 130 weighted run created plus. One thing you got to mention though, 2018, 294 WOBA, 80 weighted run created plus. So definitely got to look at, can he do it again? First baseman Jose Abreu, I have him in the 2-hole, 159 games, 33 home runs, 123 RBIs, 344 WOBA, 117 weighted run created plus. Reason I have him in the 2-hole, I actually think Edwin Encarnacion is better for the cleanup spot because he has more power. Hitting fourth, the DH Edwin Encarnacion, he missed time in 109 games. He had more home runs than Abreu with 34. He had 86 RBIs, 362 WOBA. I have Yohan Moncada splitting those two up in the 3-hole and hitting and playing third base. This is a dude, really underrated player. According to these stats, he's better than Francisco Lindor. 25 home runs, 79 RBIs, 315 average, 379 WOBA. Love this guy. I have Yasmani Grandal hitting fifth and catching, so I like it. Splitting up the righties, 2 switch hitters. Yasmani Grandal, 153 games, 28 home runs, 77 RBIs, 361 WOBA. Really like this guy. Eloy Jimenez in the 6-hole, 31 bombs in 122 games, 343 WOBA. They got Nomar Mazara, right fielder from Texas, 94 weighted run created plus. This is a guy, as the season goes on, I think he'll dip in the order because of Luis Robert, who I have hitting 8th. Number 3 prospect in baseball, 47 games of AAA, 16 home runs, 39 ribbies, 396 WOBA. So this dude is the real deal. And then I have Leury Garcia hitting 9th and playing second base. Kind of a bench player, borderline starter. But at some point, they might have number 40 MLB prospect Nick Madrigal play second base, or they might have 26-year-old Daniel Mendick start at second base as well. When you look at this lineup, Steven, man, is it good.
Oh yeah, I'm really. This is probably one of the teams I'm riding the highest in terms of the offseason. They did a really nice job with their additions. Didn't lose a whole lot. In terms of depth players, you added Grandal, Mazara, Encarnacion. You got Keuchel, Sisha. I mean, you go down the line. They really did a great job. I don't know how long they've been waiting to do this and make a giant splash in the offseason, whether it's waiting for prospects to get primed to the point where they can really just build a really good team to contend with Twins, and really take over that central title. But I look at this lineup, a team that can really do some damage. I like Tim Anderson, a guy who really showed up last year and kind of showed people like what he's about. Hey, I can play. I can be your leadoff guy. I can be your everyday shortstop. Jose Abreu, I've been on for a while, the last couple of years. Just his approach to the plate is smooth. He has enough power. When he gets a hold of balls, it just goes goes a long way, and he really has a great approach. I love him at the plate. And then splitting up, Encarnacion and Abreu, you have Moncada right there. I like him. I mean, 25 bombs, 79 RBIs, but his weighted runs created plus is at 141, well
Yeah.
above average. And that's where you look at the stats and you go, wow, well, he's really contributing to this lineup and really can do some damage. Highly slept on, in my opinion. Just not someone you hear like people talk about, day in and day out. So, um, this lineup can do a whole lot of damage. Grandal, that's a guy we talked about in the Milwaukee podcast. A guy who, wow, why'd you really let him go? He really, one of the best catchers in the league. It's hard to find catchers that are hitting close to 30 bombs and producing a whole lot of runs that he's doing. And he's good behind the plate. Pitchers love catching with him, and he calls a good game. So they did a really nice job with getting key additions to this lineup and roster, along with guys who are right on the cusp of getting called up and have gotten called up. So it's a perfect time to be in the White Sox organization, be a fan, because there's some exciting things going on over here, and the organization did a really nice job in doing this at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just you look up and down, and we haven't done the Twins podcast yet, but this is really almost there with their lineup, and the Twins lineup is amazing. I mean, the Twins lineup, it's definitely better than the White Sox lineup because they've already done it, but I mean, you just look up and down, like you said, Jose Abreu, year in and year out, every year, 20 to 30 home runs, 80 to 100 RBIs, just yearly. You can check it in the box. That's what he's going to do. Yohan Moncada, he was a young prospect coming over from Cuba. He's always been highly touted. Now we're seeing it at the major league level. Edwin, I mean, if he had played a full season, give him 50 more. He missed 50 games. You're talking maybe he's hitting 45, 50 home runs last year with probably 110 to 120 something RBIs, especially because after he got traded from Seattle, he went to the Yankees and he would have been in that lineup for 50 games. So he would have been producing runs like crazy right in the middle of Judge and Gleyber Torres and Stanton and all these guys. So, well, maybe not Stanton because he's hurt all the time. But yeah, I mean, Edwin just, and again, this isn't just a 1 year thing from Edwin. I mean, he's been hitting 30 plus bombs, 40 plus bombs year in and year out since like 2010. I believe he has the most home runs in the major leagues with Nelson Cruz and Stanton since 2010. So that's why I have him in the cleanup spot because he's much more of a cleanup hitter as opposed to Abreu. And yeah, you could have Moncada hitting in the 2-hole. I know some people are like, oh, the 2-hole is the new 3-hitter. Well, in this type of lineup, I like Moncada splitting up the righties. I like Grandal after Encarnacion. And again, if Luis Robert at some point is the guy that we think he can be, he might hit second, and you can move Abreu down to the 6-hole, moving Jimenez down to 7, and suddenly your lineup is 7 deep. And in your 7-hole, you have a guy hitting 40 home runs with Eloy, because even him, he missed 40 games and hit 30 home runs. Crazy lineup with crazy potential, and they even have Nick Madrigal, who may or may not make his debut as well. And also too, I forgot to mention, James McCann is on the bench, 333 WOBA, 109 weighted run created plus, 18 home runs, 60 RBIs last year. He's sitting on the bench.
Yeah, you have a lot of things to your disposal. You have Engel on the bench too, and so you have depth on this team. And going back to the way you can shuffle this lineup for a second is I like Abreu in the 2-hole now too, because you look at teams that are really doing this now. The Yankees putting Judge in the 2-hole. It's like the new 3-hole, but you got a dangerous bat in the 2-hole where now you potentially could see him 4, maybe 5 times in a game. You go into the 8th, 9th inning, and your rotation or your bullpen has to see Abreu again and have to get him out one more time. There's no way around it. You either serve it up to him, give him a chance, or you walk him and you get to the next guy. So the White Sox have a great 1 through 4 mix up where they can just really they have at their disposal. They can have a lot of fun with this because they can dice it however they want, do the matchups. Moncada's a switch hitter, so you can really you can have fun with it and really, like I said, put a Abreu even down at the bottom line and roll it over. But that's a guy you want to get more bats consistently and can do a whole lot of damage late in the game. It's a guy I wouldn't want to be pitching to per se in the 9th inning with guys in scoring position. A guy who I've been afraid of when he plays. It's a guy can do a whole lot of damage. So I like this team a whole lot. McCann on the bench too, being your backup catcher. I mean, you're in great shape if you're a White Sox fan.
Yeah, and I even wrestle with Grandal too because he's a switch hitter. You could say, I mean, this is one of the lineups that I saw online. You could have Grandal hitting two, Moncada hitting three, Encarnacion four, Abreu five. But again, why have two switch hitters in a row and two righties in a row? I did this to kind of mix up the matchups and make it harder for the bullpen. But I mean, it could go either way. So, and again, Robert is the wild card here because you look at the minor leagues. That's 22 plus 8. So he had 30 home runs total across three minor league levels. I mean, this is a dude that could be a top five. Because you look at the center fielders, and we haven't done our rankings for top positions yet. Center field is a weak position. With those type of stats, he could be a top five center fielder by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're looking at there's a handful of guys in center field in today's league that are dominant. Mike Trout, obviously best player in baseball, hands
Springer and
down.
Bellinger, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you got guys like I'm a Rays guy. People are all on Kiermaier, but yeah, he has a great glove. I love him in the outfield. Can save you runs, but he's a 250 hitter, and to be a great center fielder, you got to be batting, you got to be producing a whole lot of runs, getting almost 100 RBIs. I mean, you got to be that guy in their lineup. And I look at here. I mean, Robert. I mean, can be a guy that can consistently get you runs, be your production guy. A great addition to this lineup if he starts producing like he did in the AAA level. The numbers there are they're outstanding. The weighted runs created plus well above league average in AAA ball. So you get a guy who can be dominant like that, can be in the conversation to be one of the next best center fielders in the game.
Yeah, and now we move on to this rotation here, and this is a rotation that I look at, and I really actually want to hear your thoughts on it, and because there's some room here where it could be really good, but there's also some room here where it could fail. So Lucas Giolito, he's their ace undeniably. Last year, 176 and two-thirds innings and 29 starts, 3.41 ERA, 11.62 Ks per nine, home runs per nine not amazing, but 1.22 home runs per nine, 228 total strikeouts. Walks are a little high at 2.9. Dallas Keuchel in the two spot. This is a dude. Again, this is my only problem here. Dallas Keuchel as your two starter, right? Because 3.75 ERA, not the best. 4.72 FIP, not the best. He's 32 now, doesn't throw the hardest, has to rely on soft contact, and he's starting to walk more. 3.12 walks per nine, 1.28 home runs per nine. I'm just a little dubious about can he keep this production going. They have Ronaldo Lopez in the three spot, 33 starts, 184 innings. He's 26 years old now. The reason they keep giving him a chance, he was one of their top prospects. He throws really hard, has really nice stuff, so they keep giving him a chance. But he had a 5.38 ERA last year. That's not great. So this is really for him, and we'll get to it in a second about the depth of their starting pitching staff. This is his last chance. It's this year or bust for this guy. 8.27 Ks per nine, way too many home runs, 1.7 per nine. Year before, though, 3.91 ERA. As I mentioned, Gio Gonzalez in the four spot, 34 years old, still dealing, 3.50 ERA in 17 starts, 8 Ks per nine, 0.93 home runs per nine. So really good home run rate. Walking way too many, though, at almost 4 a game. And then Dylan Cease, young pitcher, 24 years old, almost 10 Ks per nine in that 5 spot. High ERA, though, at 5.79. But then you look at outside that rotation, Carson Fulmer, Michael Kopech, number 20 MLB prospect. These are two dudes. They throw almost, not even kidding here, both of them throw almost 100 miles per hour as starting pitchers with great stuff. That's why I say Reynaldo Lopez, Dylan Cease, it's this year or bust for these guys. If they're not good, they got to go. What do you think of this rotation? I think it's a lot of room here, but it also has a lot of room to fail.
Yeah, it's a lot of boom or bust.
Yeah.
And that's the best way you can put it. Because you've got guys that have proven in years past that can do it. Giolito, I mean, I like him a lot. Last year I watched, quite a few series when on MLB Network they were raving about him early in the season. He was almost unhittable. I mean, he had a low 2 ERA, but then end of the year wasn't getting enough support on the offensive side. Kind of got lost control a little bit, but I like him in the one spot. He's like I said, undoubtedly their best guy that they have. That's shown they can do it consistently. Dallas Keuchel, a guy who I've been high on for the last few years. In Houston, I liked his stuff. He can throw the ball hard. He knows how to, work his counts. He knows how to work the corners. He can get guys out. But when it starts going south for him, you can get his ball gets flat. You can hit him a whole lot. So if he gets back to the old Dallas Keuchel, Cy Young kind of contender that we saw in years past, yeah, you can have a really great two-hole there. And then you go down to I think Lopez should be your fourth starter. You can mix and match. I mean, he has great potential to be the guy. I mean, looking at his previous stats, in 2018, his ERA was a 3.91, but the problem is control with this guy. I mean, he throws the ball really. I don't care how hard you throw, but if you're wild, you can't really command the zone a whole lot. You find yourself in a whole lot of trouble, and that's why he's given up a ton of long balls because he gets off the mark, his ball gets flat. He's not worried about really pinpointing his stuff and really focusing, and then he gets off the rails quickly, and it happens fast. Gio Gonzalez, I like to pick up if he can get back to his 2017 self when he was 15-9 with a 2.96 ERA. You're golden, and that's where I think the White Sox saw him and go, well, we can have a really good guy here. If he gets back to his old self when he was with Washington, we're gonna have a potentially a steal here. And if he keeps the walks down, he doesn't give up a whole lot of home runs. His stuff is very deceptive. So I look at this rotation, excuse me, and they have a lot of potential. And if it all goes well, they really could do a whole lot of damage with that offensive production and power that they have. It's just, can you get that consistency from guys like Keuchel and Lopez? Gonzalez, I think, will have a bounce back here. For me. I think he has too good of an arsenal that he can bounce back. It's just, can you get Lopez on track and Keuchel to where he was with Houston?
Yeah, I mean, even Gio though, you put him in that 3 spot, a 3.5 ERA for a 3 or 4 starters, amazing. I mean, they would take that all day if they can get a 3.5 from a guy they're really not expecting to rely on. And yeah, you mentioned Keuchel. Hopefully he can do better. I mean, if he can be a real 2-starter, that's great. But can he be that guy? That's just the question. The one thing I question with him, though, the main thing I do, he's going to have to face the Twins a lot. They have a lot of right-handed power. Cruz, Donaldson, Garver, Sano. These are guys that hit bombs from the right side. That might be scary from a guy like Keuchel who doesn't throw too hard. And if his stuff is flat on any given day, he's going to give up some homers.
Yeah, that's the problem, and and that's the biggest takeaway I take, from Dallas is
Gio too, yeah.
Yeah, and Gio, it's like when their stuff gets flat, you face a team like the Twins, who we saw last year. Their offense can really, a snap of a finger, they can just go off on you, and before you know it, it's a tie ball game, and then before you know it, it's the third inning, and you're down by 6 runs, and you're what the hell happened? So. For guys like Gonzalez and Keuchel, you got to really be careful when you're facing these teams. You got to really hone in and stay focused on the task at hand, because you're on the left-handed side. Guys who are lefty-righty matchups, it's just you're at a disadvantage there. So I look at these guys, if they have bounce-back years, really focus and stay home and true to where they were in previous years, they'll be in great shape. And like I said, Kopech, a really hard-throwing right-handed guy. I mean, jeez, you could really get him called up and put him in the rotation. He's been in AAA now, and just wow, you could really have a good combination if he gets called up and gets himself rolling as well.
Yeah, and just a quick tidbit: Twins lineup last year, 307 home runs, most in Major League history by a team. But yeah, that's where you mentioned the potential. Fulmer and Kopech. If these two dudes are what they say they are. Wow, I mean that's 3 starters right there: Giolito, Fulmer, Kopech, and Keuchel. 4 starters right there. I mean that's a real rotation.
Yeah, and that's what you look at, and we talk about winning formulas. You did everything you had to do on the offensive side. You got great production there. Pitching wins you championships. It gets you to where you want to be. We saw with the Twins; they also loaded up in the pitching too, and it's going to be a battle. Whose pitching staff's going to outduel one another, and because these lineups are really, right neck and neck. So it's just really, are you going to get that production from and get wins from your starting rotation? Are they going to get innings up and save your bullpen throughout a course of a 162 game season? So those are things you look at. Can you stretch them out long enough to save your bullpen arms and really dominate and compete mid to late season?
And to be fair, too, I mean, the Twins' rotation is not amazing by any stretch.
Yeah.
It's not like they're leaps and bounds ahead of the White Sox. So if the White Sox can even just replicate or just be even with the Twins starting wise, it's really going to come down to those two offenses at the end of the day. So we've mentioned some of these prospects already. The White Sox have the number 2 prospect system in baseball, according to our guest system. They have an average prospect ranking of 20, which again, the way we do that, if you're a top 10 prospect, you get 50 points, top 20 prospect, so on and so forth. So, and they have a TPRP of 125. Really amazing because Robert, number 3 prospect in baseball, he's already in the bigs. Kopech, number 20, throws 100 miles per hour. He's going to be coming. Nick Madrigal, number 40, might be in the big leagues this year. And then you look at number 16 prospect, excuse me, first baseman Andrew Vaughn. This is a dude, you look at Encarnacion and Abreu. Abreu's 33, 34 years old. Encarnacion's 37. Maybe this is a guy, when he's ready, Abreu switches to the DH. Vaughn takes over at first base. Really amazing prospect system here, too.
Yeah, you have a lot of assets, and that's where you look at you talking about being where you want to be in a couple of years and just doing things the right way. You talked about the Padres earlier. They are the number 1 system, and they have a lot at their disposal, and you can do a lot of things with assets like that. You know, via trades and trying to load up and sell out and be a title contender right away, which the White Sox don't need to do because they got guys on good contracts. They have young guys that want to be in Chicago and build this team up from the ground up like they've been doing. So, you know, if everything goes right, like I said, Vaughn gets called up and you move Abreu to the DH spot, you got a guy at first base that can be that guy. And you have Robert, who's already in the major leagues. So, and 2 guys that are going to be there, they said 2020 this season at some point. So
Yeah.
you have your farm system guys that are right there are almost big league ready and locked and loaded. Now you're set. Move the next set of guys up in the system and now groom those guys to be where you want to be. So they've done a really nice job in setting everything up and align. The stars are aligning for this team at the right time. When the division's the power of this division's shifting. Indians are sliding a little bit. White Sox are moving up, and now the Twins have been the new favorite as of the last couple of years. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this division shakes out in the next few years. Who's going to really take control of this and run with it?
I think it'll be the White Sox long term. I think they have more bats so they can control for a longer period of time. You know, you look at the Twins, it's like Donaldson a little bit older, Cruz, those 2 are going to be gone soon. The White Sox have guys that are going to be here for a really long time. So I like them in terms of longevity. They actually scare me long term, quite frankly, because if these guys pan out, Moncada, Robert, Nick Madrigal, these are 3 young guys right here. Tim Anderson, Jimenez, massive offensive potential. So I really like them moving forward. And we didn't mention the bullpen yet. That's good too. I mean, they have Alex Colomé in there, 2.80 ERA. You know him a lot from his time with the Rays. They just locked up Aaron Bummer, 2.13 ERA, lefty out there, and Steve Cishek. He's been a reliable reliever for years with the Rays, with the Cubs last year for a little while. Started his career with the Marlins. They also have Taysom Guerrero, Evan Marshall, Calvin Herrera, who used to be on those Royals teams, throws gas out of the pen. So I like those guys too. But at the end of the day, I like this pen. Rotation has some potential. Lineup is incredible. So what do you give this team? Where do you have them finishing in the division? And what's their offensive grade? Off-season grade?
Right now, if I were to give them, well, I'll just start with the grades. I give them an A. Did a really nice job, and like I said, it's all aligning for them. They did everything at the right time. You got Grandal, Mazzara, Encarnacion. You did a great job in really making that lineup 1 through 9 a contender almost right away on paper. You got Keuchel, got that rotation, built up in a way. You have guys you can lean on. So I give them that because they can really compete with Minnesota this year, and that leads me to where I have them in the division. I have them in second place. some people go off the mark and want to have them win the division. It's not a stretch of the amount. But right now, like I said, you want to see it first. You want to see how this team really molds on the field, how they're gonna play together as a team for the first time. So I like them to leapfrog above Cleveland. Potentially be a wild card team this year, but that's for another pod when we do our playoff thing. But I have them in second place right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's the same reasons. It's just I want to see it. The Twins just did it. Best, home run record right there, and they added Josh Donaldson. That scares me. I mean, that lineup is dangerous. Rotations are even, like we mentioned. So I agree with you there, and I would give them an A because, this is a team, they did everything they needed to do. They added offensive help. They added pitching help. They didn't give away any of their minor league system. They really beautifully done offseason. So I would give them an A, and they're going to finish in second place. I agree with you. I don't know about playoffs yet. Again, that's for our AL playoff pod in a few weeks. I will say, though, they will definitely be right there with those wild card teams at the very least.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be a team that you're gonna see in the standings that they're gonna be there all year. They're a team that people are gonna be like, oh, they're gonna go away. They'll fall off. But come that September race, they're gonna be right there neck and neck. To say they make it or not, too far to tell. But they're gonna be there. They're gonna be a pain in the ass for a lot of teams, and teams that really don't believe in the White Sox, haven't realized what they've done in the offseason. Watch out, because this team could really shake things up in the playoff picture come September, October.
Yep. So that'll do it for the Chicago White Sox season preview. You can catch our, Cleveland Indians pod tomorrow. We've had NFL stuff coming out, FAU Athletics pod coming soon. We've got NBA and NHL stuff on the way as well. And you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on Twitter at Strict Sports FAU. And for this edition of Strictly Sports, for Stephen Cash and I am Jacob Brown, and we will see you next time.